What if some cheap machines from Temu could make money not because they're impressive or cheap, but because they do work other people don't want to do by hand? In this video, I'm going through machines for making products, customizing items, repairing things, packaging goods, and offering small local services. Some of them are genuinely useful. Some are more limited than they look. And some only become profitable when there's already a real business behind them. So this is not a fantasy list. It's a practical look at what these machines actually do and where the money could realistically come from. Let's begin. Small dents on a car are exactly the kind of defect that doesn't stop the car from driving, but annoys the owner every single time they look at the body. This tool is made for pulling out minor dents from doors, fenders, and other metal panels where the damage doesn't yet justify serious body repair, but already hurts the way the car looks. But better not expect miracles. Not every dent comes out equally well, and a lot depends on the shape of the damage, the metal itself, and how carefully you actually work. You can simply point it at almost any object and turn a real item into a digital model. A portable 3D scanner is meant to capture the shape of an object and bring it into the digital world for editing, printing, designing, or recreating later. There are plenty of possible uses here: scanning parts for reverse engineering, making models for 3D printing, digitizing objects for designers, craftsmen, small manufacturers, or even for people who just need to reproduce some rare part. You probably know the kind of service where people install walkways, concrete pads, or a driveway into a garage. Well, this machine is the reverse side of that business. Because before new concrete gets poured, the old surface often has to be removed first. For the customer, that's just as much a real service as the installation itself, because without demolition, the rest of the job often can't even begin. The only very practical downside is that this attachment does absolutely nothing unless you already have something to mount it on. These machines already look more serious than most of the earlier stuff, because here we're talking about rough, practical metal work. This is a hybrid tool that combines plasma cutting and welding, so it makes more sense as an entry point into small metalworking jobs than as some garage toy. Cutting sheet metal, fitting parts, welding things together, repairing, building simple structures, the applications here are completely different. And the money usually comes not from beauty, but from being able to do the kind of work other people either can't do or just don't want to deal with. This is a camera for inspecting pipes, and its whole job is to quickly show what's happening inside drains, sewer lines, and any other pipes that are impossible to check without equipment like this. Clogs, cracks, buildup, all of that can be seen without tearing half a house apart and hoping you guess the right spot. The image on the screen doesn't just work as diagnostics either, it also eliminates a lot of pointless talking. Once the customer sees with their own eyes what kind of mess is hiding inside the pipe, there's not much left to explain with hand gestures. There's nothing especially elegant about this machine. It just mass produces one of the most obvious weaknesses in human appetite. People are willing to buy hot, sweet dough again and again, even while fully understanding there is absolutely no real need for it. The machine itself doesn't make the donuts delicious, and it doesn't make the business profitable either. If the dough is mediocre, the oil clearly needs changing, and the presentation already looks tired, no machine is going to save that. People may come over once because of the smell, but they'll only come back a second time if the product turned out better than the aroma. Hot pressurized steam works well for car interiors, couches, kitchen surfaces, and all the places where the dirt may not be horrifying, but cleaning it by hand takes way too long and feels miserable. What makes it especially useful is that the machine is compact and easy to take on the road, which means it stops looking like just another household appliance and starts looking more like a tool you can actually use to make money. Almost every machine in this list creates something. This one works at a completely different stage. It doesn't produce a product, it handles the whole refrigerant cycle: recovery, filtration, vacuuming, and recharge. The most obvious business model here is working with car AC systems. Someone pulls in because their air conditioner isn't cooling well, the system is empty, or the refrigerant hasn't been changed in forever. And instead of just topping something off, you're running the full cycle through one machine. At first glance, this looks way too specific to take seriously, but in reality, these are exactly the kinds of machines that separate a homemade-looking setup from a finished product. With this thing, you can hermetically seal cups filled with iced coffee, tea, juice, desserts, yogurt, or cut fruit. But if your recipe is weak, your presentation is sloppy, or you have no idea who you're even selling to, sealing the cup alone is not going to save the business. After a tree is cut down, the job usually isn't actually finished, because one part of the trunk is still sticking out of the ground, and the other part is lying nearby, taking up space. That's where these two machines come in. A stump grinder removes the stump that keeps the area from looking clean and usable. A wood chipper takes care of the rest: branches, cutoffs, small trunks, and all the wood debris that tends to pile up after clearing. From a business point of view, the logic is pretty simple. You show up after the cutting is done and finish the part of the job almost nobody wants to do properly by hand. CNC machines have one almost deceptive trait. Even when they're sitting in a small workshop, they still look like someone is about to launch a mini factory instead of just cutting things in the evenings. And in a way, that feeling isn't lying. A CNC router is exactly what you use when doing the same thing by hand becomes too slow, too uneven, and too exhausting. The bit follows its path, the chips fly, and a neat sign or part slowly appears out of a plain sheet, which creates the dangerous impression that the machine is doing the main job all by itself. In reality, the most important part starts before that pretty moment, the setup. This is that familiar claw machine, where the inside is filled with toys, small prizes, or any cheap little items you can present as a reward. One interesting detail is that machines like this usually let you adjust the win rate, so it's not just about the player's skill. The owner controls how often the machine actually gives up a prize, and that's basically where the whole economics of it sits. The machine has to let people win sometimes so it doesn't feel like an obvious scam, but not so often that you're just handing out prizes at a loss. Picture the most ordinary private property where someone needs a trench dug for water, a layer of soil removed, or a spot prepared for a fence. That is exactly the moment when all the romance disappears and demand for a mini excavator begins. You show up and solve a very dumb, very heavy, very specific problem. There are plenty of jobs like this around, especially anywhere people are building, remodeling, or simply don't want to spend a week swinging a shovel for work a machine can handle in a few hours. In a case this size, you get a photo booth you can bring to almost any event where people want ready-made content as part of the entertainment. The money here doesn't come from selling a physical product, but from renting out the booth itself as a service. You show up, set it up, get it running, and then guests take photos or short videos they can save or send right away. For the organizer, it's just one more activity at the event. For you, it's a pretty clear mobile side hustle or even a small standalone business. A thickness planer is used to run wooden blanks through it and give them an even thickness all the way through. It doesn't sound especially exciting, but neat woodworking usually stands on these boring, basic stages. This is not the kind of machine that sells the idea by itself. It just removes inconsistency and randomness from the process. And that alone makes a huge difference in whether you can charge decent money for the final product. An electric grain grinder lets you quickly crush dry materials into a fine grind or powder. Someone can use it to make custom spice blends, someone else can use it for dried herbal mixes, drink bases, breading blends, or other niche food products with a more predictable cost structure. But no fantasy here, just because the machine grinds things quickly doesn't mean the product is good. You still need to understand the raw materials, storage, smell, cleanliness, grind consistency, and whether anyone besides you actually wants the final result. Sheets printed at home almost always look like drafts, even if the information inside is actually useful. But once you trim them cleanly, bind them with a spiral, and give them a proper cover, What you have in front of you suddenly becomes a finished product. A notebook, menu, catalog, manual, workbook, anything, as long as it looks put together instead of like another rushed home printout. That's exactly why the combination of an electric paper cutter and a spiral binding machine works. One removes that crooked homemade look with uneven edges, and the other turns a stack of paper into something you can actually hold without it feeling like temporary trash. A tire changer is used for removing and mounting tires on wheels, and by itself, it already points not to a hobby, but to a more serious workshop type of business. The logic here is simple. Cars have wheels, tires wear out, seasons change, and somebody has to deal with all of that. From a money-making point of view, this idea is much more grounded than a lot of the others, which honestly makes it more convincing. If you have the space, the customer flow, and at least a basic understanding of how wheelwork actually functions, this machine already fits into a straightforward service people are willing to pay for. Melting metal in your own workshop sounds a little too serious for something bought off a marketplace, and honestly, it is. Unlike harmless kits for candles, soap, and all the usual hobby stuff, this is not just some crafting tool. It works with real heat, real risk, and a pretty unpleasant cost of error. These kits love to sell the dream of a tiny foundry where you make your own metal products from scratch. Visually, the idea is definitely strong. The only real question is what exactly you're going to cast, and whether anyone besides you actually needs it. Machines like this rarely look interesting, because their job is not to impress anyone, it's to remove the most boring and annoying part of small-scale filling work. If you've ever tried filling bottles and jars by hand with oil, syrup, sauces, or anything like that, you realize pretty quickly the problem is not the product itself, but how easily the whole thing turns into a sticky mess. That's exactly why these machines exist. Not for beauty, but so this stage finally starts looking like a process instead of a punishment. Here, everything depends not on scale, but on precision, because gem faceting is one of those things where even a tiny mistake shows up immediately in the result. This kind of machine is meant to shape the stone, cut the facets, and bring the surface to the exact look people are actually paying for. A raw mineral can look interesting on its own, sure, but only after proper work does it start feeling less like something you picked up off the ground, and more like an object with value, presentation, and at least some jewelry logic behind it. This is a compact tabletop machine for carefully cutting small blanks, wood, thin panels, plastic, and other little materials that almost always end up either crooked or awkward when you try to cut them by hand. Especially if you need to repeat the same size multiple times instead of just eyeballing one cut. Still, better not get too many illusions here. Just because the saw is small doesn't make it a toy or a guarantee of a clean result. If your hands shake, the material shifts, or you rush, even a mini machine will quickly remind you that the size of the tool and the cost of a mistake are not the same thing. A tufting gun is a tool that literally punches yarn into a fabric backing so you can make rugs, wall pieces, and other tufted stuff in whatever design you have the patience for. The problem is that videos usually only show the enjoyable part, how the gun fills in color quickly, how the design appears in real time, how a bright custom rug comes together in the end. What they show less often is that to get a decent final result, you still have to stretch the backing properly, not ruin the outline, keep your lines even, trim it, glue it, finish it, and generally avoid killing the whole thing right at the end. A sandblasting cabinet exists for one thing only, getting a surface into shape fast and aggressively. You put metal, parts, glass, or other suitable pieces inside, and then abrasive material under pressure strips off rust, old paint, buildup, and basically anything else that gets in the way of proper further work. The good thing about tools like this is that they don't even try to look creative. Nobody buys a sandblasting cabinet to feel like an artist. You buy it when it becomes obvious that dirty, rusty, or neglected parts don't need to be admired. They need to be processed properly. There are things that don't cost much on their own, but after proper embroidery, suddenly look like they can be sold for 3 times the price. You can embroider almost anything. The question is whether anyone actually needs it afterward, because the same machine can produce a clean, minimalist logo someone will happily wear, or some tasteless nonsense that even perfect stitching won't save. So the problem here usually isn't the machine. The problem is more often in the head of the person who decided that the mere fact something is embroidered automatically makes it sellable. Oil is not really a category where people go looking for something fun. They either buy it as a basic everyday product or as something noticeably better, fresher, and clearer in terms of ingredients. And that difference is exactly where an oil press gets its meaning. With it, you can press oil from seeds, nuts, and other suitable raw materials, ending up not with a faceless store bottle, but with a product that has a very specific origin, taste, and a more believable story behind it. Online, you can find endless blanks, plain rings, thermoses, tumblers, and all kinds of similar items. By themselves, they're not very interesting, and they're cheap for the simple reason that they're just a base without any personality. But the whole picture changes once you engrave something onto them. This kind of machine is designed for cylindrical objects where flat engraving no longer works. Good engraving can make an item feel much more interesting and more expensive. Bad engraving does the opposite. It only highlights how cheap the whole idea was to begin with. Plastic has a weird story to it. While it's lying around as bottles, scraps, and random trash, it just looks like waste. But once you run it through a shredder, it stops looking like garbage and starts looking like usable material. That's the whole logic of a machine like this. It turns plastic from a useless state into a more practical and understandable form, shredded flakes that can then be sorted, sold, melted down, or used in other processes. Firewood still seems too simple to a lot of people to count as a real product. But in reality, it's one of the most basic things people pay for over and over again, simply because not many want to split, dry, and haul all of it by themselves. That's exactly the logic behind an automatic wood splitter. You take a log that's awkward and inconvenient in its raw form, run it through the splitting cycle, and what comes out is already a clear, usable product. At first, it seems like all this machine does is spray material. But from that one simple function comes several very real ways to make money. One obvious example is insulation. Where handwork would mean endless time and effort, this kind of setup lets you apply material quickly over a large surface and get a much more continuous layer. The second use is protective coatings, where a surface doesn't just need to look fresher, but actually needs protection from moisture, wear, and other problems. The customer already has a job that needs to be done. Insulate a space, seal a surface, or coat something where doing it all by hand would take too long and be too miserable. You show up with the equipment and solve that problem much faster. As long as someone is pouring product into bags by hand, the business somehow always looks temporary. And the worst part isn't even the slowness, it's that at this stage, the product itself still seems unsure of what it wants to be. Is it already a finished product for sale, or are people still just packing it up for themselves? That's exactly where machines like this start making sense. They remove randomness from the filling stage, remove chaos from the process, and finally give the product a repeatable, proper-looking form. This machine has a very practical purpose. Take a feed mixture and give it a form that is finally convenient to sell and use. There are two pretty clear models here. The first is making pellets for your own farm and relying less on ready-made feed. The second is producing a formula for sale if there are farmers or small-scale animal owners nearby who would rather buy a finished pelletized product than deal with loose raw material themselves. Just imagine it. Even on a machine this small, you can work with wood in a pretty serious way. Obviously, this isn't about large furniture projects or a full woodworking shop. But for small items, decorative parts, and anything that depends on clean shape, a machine like this already makes a lot of sense. Candle holders, handles, Small bowls? That's exactly the kind of category where a piece of wood starts looking much more expensive after the work than it did before.